Canada is furious and they are sticking the dagger right into the Trump regime as Donald Trump and his ambassador to Canada calls Canada nasty. Canadians are like, don't you ever call us that, number one. Number two, get the hell out of here. We're having a meeting with our premiers in Huntsville, Ontario, and we're going to talk about how we're going to make Canada the next big energy and economic superpower of the world. See you later, United States. Goodbye. So you have this meeting of the Canadian premiers in Huntsville, Ontario, taking place this week. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Carney is going to be there as well, and they are united. Unlike what we see here in the United States, where Donald Trump divides and attacks the country, in Canada, other than the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, the Canadian premiers are united to fight back against the fascist United States regime. David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, has slammed the U.S. ambassador. It's gloves off time. Don't you dare call Canada nasty, is what Premier Eby says. British Columbia Premier David Eby said he believes that U.S. leadership has very little awareness of how offensive their remarks are. Like the U.S. ambassador to Canada saying that Donald Trump thinks Canadians are nasty to deal with because of the U.S. boycotts. Do they think Canadians are not going to respond when the president says, I want to turn you into the 51st state and destroy your economy unless you bow down to the United States? Eby just said, obviously Canadians are outraged. And so America sent a delegation of senators to try to go to Canada and be like, we're not that bad. Please take us back. We really like you, Canada. You know, as Donald Trump, what does Donald Trump do recently? Blames Canada falsely for putting fentanyl into the United States and says, we're going to tariff you 35%. So let me just show you. This is Pete Hoekstra. He's the U.S. ambassador to Canada. And here's what he says about, about the tariffs. And here's how he attacks Canada. Just listen to this. Disgusting. Play this clip.
What is the president thinking about? Oh, they just slapped a brand new tax on us that we've told them for months is an unfair tax. Oh, by the way, you have 11 out of your 13 provinces who ban American products on their shelves. We haven't banned a single Canadian product in the United States. That's a pretty nasty move, okay? You have a number of your provinces have put in provisions into their procurement process that say, oh, if you're an American company, oh, yep, you can't bid. That's pretty nasty.
Yeah, but that was in response to the U.S. slapping major tariffs on this country.
Exactly right now.
So responding is nasty? I'm just trying to get to the heart of this, Ambassador.
Where we are today.
Yeah, awful stuff right there. You are blaming Canada for responding to the attacks by the United States? Yeah, it's called being a sociopath. That's Trumpism 101. I'm going to attack you, but just let me attack you. Don't fight back. And here, Pete Hoekstra, again, here he talks about, when we call you the 51st state and say we want to conquer you and annex you, that's a term of endearment. That just shows we like you. The arrogance of these people. It's a Putin mentality, and that's why this Trump authoritarian regime is just getting shellacked right now when it comes to tourism, when it comes to the boycott on U.S. products. But listen to this idiot Pete Hoekstra right here. Let's play it.
I do want to ask you about the 51st state. You had to have known this question was coming because, of course, the president brought it up again over the weekend. It does seem to come up when things are getting a bit tense and a bit intense. Is Donald Trump using threats against Canada's sovereignty as a negotiating tactic?
It is not a threat.
How is it saying that Canada should become a state? He said we're not a real country before.
I think, your prime minister, I forget what he said within the last week or something, and said, this is he didn't use exactly this word, but a term of endearment. He
has said it's a wish, a desire, rather than necessarily a reality. You think it's a term of endearment, Ambassador Hoekstra?
Yeah, President Trump doesn't invite people onto his team who he doesn't like, who he doesn't trust, who he doesn't respect. He wants a strong team.
So your message to Canadians is they should see this 51st state talk as a term of endearment.
They can see it however they want. Far be it from me to tell Canadians how they should view the president's comments. But the president does not invite people on his team, on America's team, or to grow our team with the belief that by doing so, we're going to weaken America or weaken them. The president has said it. He said it when we're in the Oval Office. I love Canada.
As Business Insider points out, Canada first, eh? America's terrible tariffs could be great news for Canada's economy. And as these premiers meet in Huntsville, Ontario, talking about how they remove any trade barriers within Canada, how the provinces unite and work together, forging new alliances like the defense treaty between Canada and the European Union, building trade between Canada and foreign countries, looking elsewhere to buy military weapons. Here's Prime Minister Carney saying, look, we're going to turn Canada into a superpower. Canada's steel industry is at the center of our competitiveness, and we're going to push back against, any attacks on our sovereignty. Here, watch this.
In an increasingly unpredictable and unreliable world, we must focus on what we can control. Canada has what the world needs. We're becoming an energy superpower. And we are a leader in the building blocks of a modern economy.
Now, as the premiers head to Huntsville, Ontario, here's what David Eby, Premier of British Columbia, says about, look, he's like, we're dealing with Trump's threats. United States threats as a result of Donald Trump. Play this clip.
Hey, it's David Eby. I'm here in Ontario, in Muskoka. It's quite beautiful. Premier Ford has invited us here for the meeting of all of the premiers across Canada, and then we'll also be meeting with the Prime Minister, talking about how BC can play our role to help drive Canada's economy and help us stand on our own 2 feet, stand up to the threats from President Donald Trump, ensure public safety for people across the country, including each of our own provinces and territories, and work together on important issues like immigration and how to move forward. It's a great discussion so far. Really honored to be here working for you to make sure we're delivering for British Columbians, growing our economy, and making sure Canada is strong together.
Now, as I mentioned, the United States senators, Murkowski from Alaska and others, they just went to Canada to try to be like, oh, we're not that bad. We're not that bad. But even when you listen to Murkowski, she's the senator of Alaska, the way she talks about it, we're in a very complicated economic times, very complex trading. No, Donald Trump is threatening to take over Canada. The complicated aspect of it is that we have a fascist, authoritarian, sexual abuser, felon, criminal in the Oval Office right now, gangster who threatens and extorts Canada. That's it. So when you go there, United States senators, to Canada, realize you're not really making any progress until Donald Trump and this regime either stops what they're doing or gets replaced. Canada is going to continue its boycott against the U.S. They're going to continue to boycott tourism. There's a reason why we see Las Vegas experiencing basically a recession now. Go look at Vegas at night, empty pretty much at this point. But here's United States Senator Murkowski. Watch how she talks about it. We're complicated relationships. We really love Canada. Here, play this clip.
So as you know, I'm from Alaska, the 49th state. We're happy to be the 49th. We think we have just about the right number of states in the United States, or this senator does. As much as we love our Canadian neighbors, we would like you we would like to respect that border between our two countries. So this visit is as much of an effort to ensure that there is a recognition that this trust, this relationship that we have had between our two countries is solid, despite the complicated world that we're navigating right now when it comes to tariffs and trade issues. I think it is important to also recognize, though, that we have a very unique aspect or relationship between the United States and Canada when it comes to defense security. This is not only economic security that we're talking about with tariffs. It is about the shared defense security that we have through NORAD. In my state of Alaska, on almost a daily, if not more frequent basis, believe it or not, it's the Canadian partnership with the U.S. Military assets through training exercises, through intercepts in the air, on the water. This relationship is real, and we don't want to see that frayed when we have, again, complicated relationships as they relate to our trade. We have opportunities within the Arctic sphere. We have opportunities with regards to cyber. So how we are able to negotiate some of that at the same time that we're talking about some of these very, very discrete issues. Good conversation this morning, not only with the Prime Minister, but also with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And the terminology that she used with the USMCA, which I thought was very instructive. She says, we have a framework within that we wish to operate. We have the frame, we need to make it work. And so I think this is yet another aspect of what we're trying to do today to reinforce these relationships, to ensure that going forward we see good reforms to the USMCA, but also that beyond that, on the economic diplomacy, the economic security, we do not erode or fray the defense relationship that our two nations have.
And the Maple Midas know what's up. They know what's going on here. I mean, it's really, really. So then you also had Prime Minister Carney host King Abdullah of Jordan. Remember Donald Trump's meeting with King Abdullah of Jordan? I think the juxtaposition there is important to mention. So here, Prime Minister Carney standing mutual respect with King Abdullah of Jordan, talking about bringing peace to the Middle East. And Prime Minister Carney said, we need to get humanitarian aid immediately into Gaza. And Prime Minister Carney says that we will never be supportive of any change of the demographics of the Palestinian state. That's a direct message, by the way, to Trump and Netanyahu. And remember Trump's meeting with King Abdullah, where Donald Trump's like, yeah, we want to kick out all the Palestinians. So first, let me just share with you what Prime Minister Carney's meeting looked like. Let's play it.
And may I, on behalf of all Canadians, thank you for the steadfast friendship and partnership between our countries, partners in trade and security and peacekeeping. And if I may as well, Your Majesty, compliment you on your personal role in enforcing peace and security in the region. And never has that been more important. I'll reiterate the message that Canada and 25 other nations delivered today, calling for an immediate ceasefire, of course, the release of all the hostages, but also the resumption at scale of humanitarian aid. I know you stand ready to play a leadership role there, as always, but also we fully reject any attempt to separate, to change the demographic or territorial makeup of the Palestinian occupied territories.
Right. Now let me contrast that with what Donald Trump said with King Abdullah, where Donald Trump was like, we're going to get rid of all the Palestinians and we're going to build like Trump hotels there. Here, play this clip.
The U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What is that?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
Just to follow up with one on that for King Abdullah, can you clarify again, sir, how do you feel about the U.S. taking Gaza, as the president said?
Well, again, this is something that we as Arabs will be coming to the United States with something that we're going to talk about later to discuss all these options.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
So now going to Huntsville, Ontario, where this summit of the premiers is taking place. Let's take a look at Premier Ford, Conservative Party Premier of Ontario. Here's what he's got to say about the tariff situation, what he's looking for. Play this clip.
Start buying Canadian-made vehicles. Start buying Canadian-made everything. That will hurt them more than anything at all. We're their number one customer. We do more trade. We do more trade with them, we buy more products, I should say, off the U.S. than Japan, China, Korea, UK, and France combined. So we are an economic powerhouse, and we don't have to take a backseat to anyone.
Here's Premier Doug Ford again. Let's play it.
What I'm glad is that the country is united. We may differ on a few views, which is fine, but we walk out of here united as a country, as a strong, sovereign country.
But the steel measures last week, where you give it time to restructure, to kind of close the market, it sends a signal that at least on that sector, it's probably a long-term challenge. So like by August 1st, if there is no peace and the sectoral tariffs are gone, should Mark Carney get back, and what should Canada do?
Well, what I believe in when the steel tariffs or aluminum tariffs, we start onshoring everything. We don't make I-beams here in Ontario, but we have more cranes than the top 10 cities combined that are carrying those I-beams. And that's billions of dollars they're going to lose with aluminum cans, the beer cans, the soda cans. We're bringing companies on board that we're going to manufacture it here. So they don't have to face the 25% tariff on the way down, 25% tariff on the way back.
I wanted to show you Premier Ford because you have, everybody from David Eby, right, who's New Democratic Party, to the Premier Ford, Conservative Party, to Prime Minister Carney, Liberal Party, all coming together. By the way, I want to show you what the mutual respect looks like as King Abdullah of Jordan talks to Prime Minister Carney. Here, play this clip.
My dear friend, we have an amazing and wonderful relationship between our two nations. I'm really honored to be here on my first trip to Ottawa since you took office. We've already had some really good discussions, and I believe that this historical relationship between Canada and Jordan allows us to try and bring stability, common sense to our part of the world. And the voice of Canada is extremely important in the challenges that we have. So I look to this relationship with tremendous importance. I know that Canada is going to be a partner for peace in our region. And again, you being part of 25 nations, coming up with a very strong statement today is appreciated by all Jordanians. And we have a lot of bilateral talks to discuss also. But I'm very, very delighted with the special relationship between our two countries. And I know that we are going to work hand in hand as we overcome, hopefully, the challenges of our country.
And now I had the opportunity to speak with Charlie Angus about, Canada trying to be reasonable with the United States, and how every time they try to do that, Donald Trump just gives Canada the middle finger. Play this clip.
I mean, is anyone surprised that Trump was going to pull this? He declared he was going to have 90 trade deals in 90 days. That bombed. He said that he would have a trade deal with Canada on July 21st, and yet he attacked us. He pulled away from the table. The Prime Minister agreed to drop the digital sales tax, which I think cost the Prime Minister a lot of trust in Canada. They were like, why'd you do that? And the Prime Minister tries to present a vision of saying, I'm reasonable. We're going to work with this guy. The Prime Minister didn't respond when Trump threw arbitrary 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum. The Prime Minister said, we're not negotiating in public and by Twitter. We're going to sit down at the table. And then Donald Trump pulls this stunt. So what's very clear, and I think the Prime Minister had to go through this to really get the strength he's going to need now, is that you don't sit down and negotiate with a gangster regime in good faith. You just can't trust Trump. And the one thing we know about Trump is he's never veered off his intention of destroying our nation by destroying our economy. He's made that clear. He's come back at us again and again. He's wavered on so many other nations, but Canada has remained his focus, his enemy, the nastiest people, he says. We see the rising rhetoric coming from Kristi Noem and Kash Patel and the other mega thugs that he has that are blaming Canada for all manner of falsehoods and lies. So this is a moment of decision for Canada to stand up in the face of this kind of threat or roll over. And we are not going to roll over.
And here, Charlie Angus, leader of the resistance, former member of parliament, also tells me, he's like, look, we got to build up our military. We got to start building drones because we don't know. Is the U.S. going to attack us? We've got to be prepared the way Ukraine was prepared for Russia. Here, play this clip.
But this is a very, very sick and dark exhibition. So when we look at this as the people that we're negotiating with, Canadians need to be really ready. We are upping our investment in military spending significantly. We are now procuring from the Europeans, whereas before we would have just gone to the United States as per usual and buy gear. We're not buying gear from the United States. I don't know what the Prime Minister's thinking, but if I was him, I'd be inviting over Ukrainians to start setting up factories so that we can set up those $100 drones, because it's our border, it's our waterways, our lakes, and our harbors that are now seriously under threat, because we don't know where Trump is going to go. I know in the media in Canada, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to act like they're being hysterical. But when you're seeing a president of the United States setting up concentration camps and bragging about people being eaten by alligators, people whose only crime is they got picked up by ICE, then the idea that we can trust them at our border is simply not on. We have to start getting ourselves ready for what could be the next part of the playbook.
Well, there you have it, folks. Canada furious. But I want to show you also just how the premiers are, they have their differences, but largely united against the United States, largely. And then just the difference between that meeting also with King Abdullah, between Carney's meeting and Trump's meeting. U.S. senators going there, please, 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 we love Canada. Okay, Murkowski, sure. I'm sure it deeply concerns you, Murkowski. Are you deeply concerned that Donald Trump threatens the sovereignty of Canada? What are you going to do if you're deeply concerned? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.